Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. This is Tamika Leslie.
And this is Kirk Weber.
And we are the Next Level Now.
Now.
We have some guests with us today.
Yes, we do.
Do you want to introduce our first guest?
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So we have Kristin. I'm not going to say last name, but Kristin is one of our people that we are going to interview today.
Yes.
And we have Mr.
Michael Cortes.
Yes, he is going to state his last name.
Yeah, I like it. There's a guy with guts.
So we're having this wonderful mastermind meeting, and we decided to start recording because there was so much knowledge and ideas and wonderful thoughts that came up, and we wanted to capture that on camera.
Excuse me, always a great thing is getting other people's viewpoints, getting other people's ideas. As you start to assimilate them with your own, it's just amazing what that opens up for you. All these new opportunities that suddenly just pop into existence. It's, wow. And one of our favorites, Tamika and mine, is that it causes us to effervesce with new ideas, and such a fun term.
It is.
It's just fun to even
bubbling over.
Just to see it and say it. But let's just dig a little deeper into some introductions.
Yes.
All right. So Kristin, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about who Kristin is and what she does, and maybe how we met.
I'm going to name drop my last name. It's Kristin Randolph.
Woo.
I met Tamika and Kirk through Toastmasters. I'm in the Beaver Club 13, is that how we call it? The chapter 85.
Yes.
I don't, the numbers are,
I know.
they're so confusing. But that's where I met you guys, and it was an opportunity that my boss didn't force but peer pressured me into a little bit, and as a result I have been able to open up a little bit more, feel a little more confident in myself, and do some speeches that reduce the amount of ums and uhs and so's and likes and all those things. So it's been a great opportunity and a great networking opportunity. I've met some great people along the way.
Kristin, I really, from having watched you not as long as Tamika has, but from watching that very short time that I've seen you, I see very rapid changes from what I first met with Kristin to what I see now. There's a confidence there. There's a shine that you have that was hiding behind some deer in the headlight looks that we used to get. Can you give me a little bit of a depth on how communication has been able to help you through that growth period?
Yeah, so when it took me an entire year after my boss had recommended checking out a Toastmasters event. It took me an entire year, went through some challenges as a leader, and it destroyed my confidence. Not that I had great confidence to begin with. I have had a lot of things that happened in my life, so the confidence was always kind of rocky from the start. But after losing an employee, I just kind of plummeted. I kind of tanked. I kind of went inwards. I felt like I was a failure. I wasn't succeeding in whatever I was doing. I instantly saw barriers, and I think those barriers are something that I put there. In all honesty,
I would agree.
And it took a lot for me to get myself out of there. One of those did actually help. Toastmasters did become a part of that. I don't think that I would have been able to speak doing this, for starters. I did a podcast before I joined Toastmasters, and they tell me I did good, but I'm my worst judge. So I joined the Toastmasters group. I was a little apprehensive before. Speechcraft was what really brought me out. Basically, you have something to say, And once we did Speechcraft, then there really wasn't anything holding me back other than getting up there and saying it in front of people and talking to people. Since then, I've been able to communicate a lot better. Even at work, I feel more confident since, I call it the fall of Kristin. And I want to say that was in like 2023, but I've come up so much since then. It's an everyday battle. Confidence is every single day.
Absolutely.
You have to wake up and just every day you have to embed that in yourself.
And watching you and listening to you do this, I'd say you're kicking tail and taking names, kiddo. Yeah, you really spelled it right out, and that's beautiful to hear it and to see it. It's one of those things that's so much fun, is watching someone express what they've done and how they've done it. But before we let you go further, I want to turn over here to Mr. Cortes, who's been sitting here very quietly, just kind of watching things go by. And Mike, tell us a little bit about you and what's your background?
Well, thank you. Thank you. My name is Michael Cortes, like I said earlier. And who am I? I'm a former U.S. Marine Sergeant. I am a former 30-year career IT director at a K-12 education school district. And I am a dad and a husband, a dad of 2 wonderful daughters. And all of that has come together and coalesced in a place where I now work with scared and anxious parents to jumpstart their confidence and their ability. And much of that I approach through a developed philosophy that starts with one simple rule, that is, people can't read your mind. We go through life quite often either expecting others to know what we're thinking or believing that others can know what we're thinking. And we use that both against ourselves and for ourselves in the wrong directions. So that's a kind of a philosophy I've developed over the years through all of these different roles and different developments that I have had throughout my life.
Such a great topic, Mike, and it's from talking to you off camera, I know a little bit about how you got into this with parents who have anxiety, and if I can prevail upon you, if you don't mind sharing a little bit, how did you gain your experience to go through some of those things? And then in turn, so that I don't make you feel too bad, I'll give you a little bit of mine too.
Well, I think because you so quickly volunteered to give me yours, I think that's because you know the secret that we all know as parents, and Tamika, you also know this, is that we all kind of come from the same cloth. We come to parenthood completely unequipped and uninformed, and maybe we hit a point.
As soon as they handed it to me when the baby was born, I just threw it in the can.
You got an instruction book?
Yeah. And I do have an interesting story in instruction books, something I learned in education. But I think that when we hit that point and we totally believe we have no idea what we're doing, in my case, I remember sitting on the edge of my bed with my arm around my wife as we were dealing with the upcoming arrival of my first child, and she was just pouring out her belief that she was totally unprepared for this and she was going to be the worst mother that there had ever been. She, in that moment, she absolutely believed that she was not capable of being a mom. And that's probably, if you're listening to this, is not something that is new to you if you're a parent. So we all go through this. And if you're lucky, you have someone available to help you through it. But I think we don't realize how often there are some of us who don't have someone to help us through this. And maybe just a little bit of insight, maybe just a little bit of a sharing of someone else's experiences, and some discussion as to how did you get through it, might help us get through it a little bit easier, a little bit smoother. But don't be fooled, it won't be easy or smooth.
It's not. I can remember for me, Mike, I had been married and divorced. I had 2 children to my first marriage. And I had remarried, and my wife had one to her first marriage, and then we had one together. And I'm working in my office as a chiropractor, and my 2 oldest children to the first marriage were now, in college, out more as adults. And all of a sudden, my receptionist comes and she says, "You have a phone call." And I'm thinking, we get them all the time. Why are you coming to me with this? Here was my ex-wife, who was, at the time why we were divorced, she was a raging alcoholic, in and out of jail, just all kinds of issues going on. And she had abused herself so horribly that her voice was just awful. And, I pick up the phone. "Carl, this is Karen, your wife." "Okay." "Brandon's dead." Click. My son had overdosed on heroin. And I can remember standing in my office, and I literally collapsed into a chair. And one of my patients had come into the room, comes around, and he gives me a hug and he says, "Can I pray for you?" And it was at that moment that I realized that everything that I thought I knew about being a parent, everything that I thought I understood about being a parent, was just nothing. No one's prepared for that. But as you go through those events, and as you walk past those things, I talk to my son Brandon almost every day, because I know BB is here. "How you doing, buddy?" And I have, to the point, because of that growth that we were able to find, I got past that, and I have forgiven my ex-wife, and I have forgiven my ex-mother-in-law, who were huge enablers. They really, truly were, responsible for some of this, and getting past that. But that's that personal growth that we're talking about. It's those things that Mike has that makes him able to help other people with those issues. It's those things that Kristin has, or that Tamika has. And that's what makes us all so much fun individuals to be around. We grow from that. Mm-hmm. So Tamika, you've been sitting over here just quietly watching the world go by.
Well, it's interesting because I'm always looking for an opportunity to, if I'm being selfish, heal myself. Mm-hmm. And we've had a few topics that have come up today. One of them was off camera. And I want to actually touch on this because I'm going to take this opportunity to try to heal myself. So going back to the parenting, the book of, owner's manual, if you will. Earlier off camera, you'd mentioned you're a baby boomer generation, and you'd mentioned how you were always taught that you come last. And when you said that, I had an aha moment, because when my oldest children, they're twin boys, when they were born, my husband and I, we were living with his mother, my mother-in-law, and she's a baby boomer. And she had this attitude of, you're a mother now, you come last. So you take care of everybody else and everything else, and then when you're worn down to nothing,
yes,
then you
get what's left.
Intuitively, I knew that wasn't right. But being postpartum, after the twins were born, that first year, they say postpartum is it is.
Female dog.
It is, yes. But not only that, when you're operating from the standpoint of you're last, what does that do to a person?
Yes.
And so when you said that earlier, it all made sense to me. It was like, okay, that's how she was raised. That's how she was perceived, you know, as a mother and things like that. So that there's that aspect of it. But also hearing your story of how your wife didn't feel that she was going to be a good mother, that plays into that same thing. That moment for me was after the twins were born. It was actually, my twins were born March 18th. That following November, I just felt like I didn't want to be here anymore. I wasn't good enough for anybody. I was struggling postpartum. I mean, I just had that very hands-off approach with the twins. Like, I didn't want to be bothered with anybody. And as a first-time parent, you don't realize you're going to get past that. You just got to get through the first year. Well, that was tough. But Thanksgiving Eve, I was ready to just take a bunch of pills and be done. And thank goodness I didn't.
Thank goodness.
Because I wouldn't be here now for this, and all of the other beautiful moments. But yeah, when you don't feel like you have that support system, which is what you talked about. And I want to say to anybody out there that's dealing with something that they feel like is it's just too much, the Next Level Now can help.
Absolutely.
It can help.
That's our purpose.
And we don't know who you are yet, but I believe that the Next Level Now can help.
It can, and I think you're exactly right, Tamika. We're offering on the Next Level Now hands-on experience of going through postpartum depression, hands-on experience of having been through the guilt of saying, oh my goodness, this is my fault. It probably wasn't, but you took that guilt on, you carried it yourself. Part of learning how to support a wife who's feeling so low and so worthless that she's not sure that she's capable of doing what is being asked of her, or to help a guy through a traumatic moment. That's what this is all about. And it just reminded me of, I've heard of different people talk about being in a rut. Do you know what a rut is?
Yeah.
A rut is a grave with both ends kicked out. Okay? And you can't get out of it. And that's what the Next Level Now is. It's offering you that opportunity, that hand to help you get unstuck, to live into that being that you see yourself as in your mind's eye. Because it's when you're not that person and you have that discord, that disconnect. This is how I think I want people to see me, but oh my God, this is how I'm acting. That causes anguish, pain, shame, discomfort, and no one deserves that. No one deserves that. And that's what the Next Level Now is here to do, is to help you get out of that rut, get out of that 6-foot hole that you found yourself in. Kristin, you look like you have something you want to say.
No, and I've said it to Tamika before, I believe that everything in the universe happens for a reason, including right down to this interaction here. The guy that I met at the thing, Michael, you mentioned something, and this was before being on camera, that you had food delivered to your home when you were younger. Same. I lived perpetually poor, and we struggled. And I mean, all of that trauma leads to where I am now, and to the things that I have to do for myself daily as a reminder of how far I've come. But it's amazing that this group of people here, and we're starting this conversation about the impact of the things that have happened to us, you know, in the form of your wife and that impact that it had on you. I'm listening to this and I'm grabbing it all and I'm just kind of absorbing it because we've all been impacted by something that at some point has held us back or continues to hold us back. For me, it's a daily fight. And there's other people like that it's a daily fight. I'm not You know, I'm not saying that it's a daily fight because I'm suicidal or anything like that. I'm not. I'm big into my faith, so it's definitely not one of those things. It's a habit that I've had to form to get myself kind of unstuck out of that rut. Because you wake up every morning or you end your day like, this is the worst. This was the worst day. Or, God, you can take me now. I'm fine with it. I mean, any day now. And then you wake up, you're like, okay, round 2 or round 42 and however many months and days. But you just do it. But it's however you have to do it. You know, for me, I'm constantly telling in my head is like, you got this. Like, you're here for a reason. Clearly, there's a reason that we're here. And that's why I'm like, I love looking at the universe from this perspective and how, like, he had a story that was resonant. You've got a story that was resonant. You've got a story that was resonant. Or it all resided in me in a way that it's like, yeah, you definitely can come together, have these brain moments, and
make it work,
and have solutions for people.
Do you have a framework that you follow? Because you say that every day it's a struggle, Kristin. Do you follow a specific framework, or do you kind of fly by the seat of your pants?
I've flown by the seat of my pants after having some interesting religious experience, and so I've always depended on myself because growing up was hard. I've just had to always learn my own way. I was my teacher. I was my, from kid up. I had to become an adult when I was 8, essentially. So while I was trying to get out of that rut, and it was before joining Toastmasters, because I needed, in order to join the Toastmasters group, I needed to be in a place where I could feel comfortable and not run away, because almost every day was one of those, I want to run away. Like, was the day at work terrible? Yes, let's run away. No, that's not how it works, especially when you get married and you have the kid and you have a family and all of those things. You can't run away. So I slowly but surely would just look at it from my faith. Everybody's got to look at it from their own way. For me, I'm here for some reason still. In all of the chaos and all of the crazy, I'm here for something. So that purpose is coming, whether it's today, whether it's in an hour, whether it's 5 years from now, something's gonna happen. I'm here for a reason. So I just do that every day. Go to bed. I do the same thing, like, if today's the day, I'm okay, I'm good. And then I wake up, and then
there you go.
I start the pattern again and try to approach it positively.
But you do have a framework then. It's just, some people have more defined frameworks. Yours is a little more loose, but it's a framework.
Yeah.
Because you repeat it day after day. Michael, how'd you get through yours? Well, that was a quick question, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was. Expand on that question a little bit more.
Okay, so I had asked Kristin if she had a framework, and I was using that from a point of framework for me, my point of reference. Every day, as Kristin said, I write in my journal that everything that has ever happened to me has happened to me for the express purpose of preparing me for this moment today. And I've written that every day for about the past 20 years because I firmly believe that is what's going to happen. And from there, I go through a framework for me of remembering things that I need to remember. I need to keep my thoughts on the law of attraction. What you focus on, you get. I've learned to focus on the 2 Q's of value. Give more quality than quantity of service to get 4 times as much value. I've learned to think about all of these little mnemonics. I have 10 of them, and I write them all down every day. That's my framework. That's how I developed my system. So that's why I was asking, how did you do it? And yours was a framework, but it's maybe not quite as formal as mine, but I probably have another 20 or 30 years on you. So you'll get there.
No, it is like, you put it to paper, it's
Yes,
there.
it's there.
What you said is in here, in my brain every day. I just didn't put it to paper, but
I'm
it's
70,
the
honey.
line.
I
That
forget your
line
name.
was the,
So, but Michael, that
Well,
was my question.
You did throw me off because you used the word framework, and now that I think about it, as we were talking earlier, I'm wondering if I used the word framework when I started talking about the concept of people can't read your mind, and honestly, the reason it threw me off is because I'm not used to thinking of it as a framework. It's. My oldest daughter is just about 30, so it's probably been about 30 years that we've been thinking of our framework as the rules. And it is something in my family, my two daughters, my wife, and I, for nearly 30 years, have been saying to each other the rules. We've been using that term. And it is something that we wrote down, but it started way back in high school. The inkling of it came, and sometime in my early years, right after high school, when I was still in the Marine Corps, it had occurred to me that, and I don't remember what the impetus was, but it had come to me that the kids in high school were the cool kids. And then I was not one of the cool kids. And what is it that made the cool kids the cool kids? And it just occurred to me, the reason why is because I didn't know what was going on inside of their head. I only knew them as what we saw them, what they allowed us to see. And that came from the realization, as you start to get out of that high school mentality, that every high school kid has the same insecurities, the same issues, the same problems to a great degree. We're all fighting the same fights. We're all going through puberty. We're all going through the same struggles. We're all striving to figure out what our identity is. But in my mind, I see every single one of those struggles on a daily, hourly, or minute-by-minute basis because I see everything in my own head. As we all know, sometimes we are too much in our own heads. But in that moment, I realized that while those things were occurring, I wasn't seeing them. And the cool kids weren't dictating that to everyone. Maybe they had a few close friends that they were actually discussing that with, but they weren't dictating that to the rest of us, while the rest of us were a little bit maybe wallowing in those insecurities and problems and sharing that with too many people. They weren't, and therefore they seemed to have it all together. They seemed all in place, and they seemed so much cooler than the rest of us. Like, how could anything be going wrong with them? Because we didn't understand. And that led to that first rule: people can't read your mind.
Yes.
Once I laid that down, I had decided that one day I'm going to teach my kids that. I don't want them to go through this. I want them to go to school a little bit better armed than I was, and I'm going to teach them that. And I started thinking that way, and that for me laid the footwork of there are things that I can prepare that I want my kids to know. I can lay things out and have them ready for when kids come along one day. That concept ended up with 61 rules as of today. That ended up being planks, just concepts and beliefs, qualities and traits that we wanted to share with our kids, and we were able to use them both as principles for them to learn, but also building blocks for them to create bigger and better things one day. And the reason we have 61 of them, because at some point the kids start getting older and they start contributing to the rules. So some of these are not all rules that I created.
They contributed to all the rules.
These are, they're not rules. One of my favorite is The first one to contribute was actually not my oldest, but my second.
Okay.
And she was, and because of her age, I actually had documented who it was and how old she was, because I think she was 13
Good age.
when she said, and I've got to find it here, so there it is. You trip, you fall, you get back up.
I like it.
She was like 13 years old.
Yeah.
And she just said that. And this is my second daughter. My second daughter is also, she has a condition called Williams syndrome. She's had to deal with some special needs throughout school and class, and a little bit of intellectual disabilities that we're dealing with. And but whenever she would put some connections together and really come up with a thought like that, for many of us, it was something that we really took note of. And so she was the first one. That was rule number 20. And when she said, you trip, you fall, you get back up.
You guys, none of you are old enough to remember Art Linkletter, are you? You have no idea who I'm talking about. It used to be a television show.
Yeah.
Art Linkletter, kids say the darndest things.
Oh, okay. That's what you had to say.
And yeah, that's what that reminded me of.
Yeah.
But your thing on the rules, and it reminded me you were going to teach your children how to do better than what you did, right? That's kind of the upshot of it. Mine turned into a book. The things my dad told me about how to run a chiropractic office, all the things that I learned over 45 years worth of running a chiropractic office. And I had them on a stack of papers like this. And I was going to give them to my son. I thought, he's never going to read that. So I condensed it. I threw it into a book, and I had it printed through Amazon. I think I've sold a bristling 6 copies, and I bought 4 of them. But at any rate, and he's yet to read the book, Mike. So there's the rules might have been a better choice.
You know why? He's going to read it when you're gone.
Yeah, probably. I'll grin at him.
That's what I would do. I would be like, oh, he's here. And then,
He's got it.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That is awesome. Now, Tamika, how do you deal with that with yours?
Framework. I do want to comment on the word framework because you're so logical. There's got to be a framework to
Live
it.
long and prosper. baby.
See, I don't do like a rigid plan like you do. I do my, I have, so first thing when I wake up in the morning, I've got to hydrate 2 bottles of water
Good job.
before I drink my coffee, and then more water. So I'm constantly alternating. But that's part of my framework, so to speak. But also writing down in my gratitude journal.
Yes.
Things that I'm grateful for that are current, and things that I'm grateful for that haven't even happened yet.
Love that. That's awesome.
Like,
That is gratitude.
I am so grateful for our newest contributors to the Next Level Now.
I love it.
And I just write that out, and I kind of just set the intention and then leave it alone.
I like it.
And then, things happen on their own time. So that's my framework. I have to do my hydration, gotta have my coffee, along with my daily devotional, and then, which I didn't bring with me, and then my gratitude journal.
Would you be interested in hearing a bit of trivia that you just reminded me of?
Yeah, I would love to.
I love the way you were talking about writing down things you're grateful for that haven't occurred yet, because it reminded me. I once read an article talking about languages. I am exceedingly curious. And as I'm reading this article about languages, they're talking about the fact that languages actually are constructed in different manners when it comes to time. As you know, if you've ever studied a foreign language, we have to learn to conjugate verbs because you have to be able to say something as simple as run in the past, in the present, in present groups, in past groups, in current tense, genders. And there are languages out in the world that have no past, present, future conjugations. To them, they are all one thing.
Yes.
So imagine growing up in a world where you speak of running, eating, sleeping, speaking, and all you ever do is speak of it in one tense. Sleeping is sleeping. Now is no different than yesterday, from in the future, in the past. It is no different. And they discovered that it affects the way you think of the world. The way you speak causes your mind to adjust yourselves in how you see the world. They have the best success in things that we in the Western world strive every day. To diet, to lose weight, to get in shape, to stop smoking. Because for them, saying that they are going to do something is no different than saying they are doing something. And that's what you reminded me.
Yeah, I think that way. I think that everything is now. And I can give you like several different examples of that. Starting with Toastmasters, the Beaver Club. When I was president of that club 3 years ago, to have 15 members was like a dream come true. We've got 20 now. But the point is, I didn't put a limit on it. Like it has to happen while I'm president. I just said I wanted to see the Beaver Club get to at least 15 or more members while I'm there to just see it grow. And it has grown and it's amazing. But I thought of it at that time in the now. You know, it's happening right now. And I just continue to go to the club just like we had 15 members. You know?
Wow, that's a effervescing purple smoke out of my head moment. I struggle so much as we're going through Sunday sermons, as we're doing Bible studies, because the Bible, as we're taking things out of Greek, out of Aramaic, that is the way they speak. It's one tense. And they're talking about doing things, and I think my rigidity, as you reminded me of with my frameworks, where I'm at, is not conducive to me thinking across time and putting that together in that sense. And that is a struggle point for me. That's a beautiful thought. I thank you guys for that. I got a nugget. I can go home and go to bed, baby. I learned something.
Everything is now. Everything is now.
That's crazy. That makes the Buddha make a lot more sense.
Well, another thing too, and this is getting way out there, but do you believe in bending time? Do you even know what that means?
Einstein did, so yeah.
Okay, it's a thing. I've experienced it. Where you're whatever your goal is, let's stick with the 15 people with Toastmasters. You're thinking it is so, and then you actually can bend time. Like everything exists in the now. So that 15 member club exists right now. That even though we only have 8 members.
Right.
So bending time is when you take inspired action, when you get that nudge to do something and you do it, and with the hopes of trying to recruit members or whatever you're trying to do. And then when you get to the end of a cycle, some of those things actually exist.
They manifest.
In real time, yes.
Christ said, I am the Alpha and I am the Omega.
Omega.
I am the beginning and the end. When is the only time the beginning and the end ever touch? Right now. Right now. And that's it. Wow. Put a big bow on that bad boy. That's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was definitely an interesting way of, I mean, you should look at that. Like even when you're running a business, of the bending of time, essentially. When you're setting goals, in that context. The same thing when you're setting goals in your business, however many customers that you're going to have. You're not manipulating time, you're just making the time work. But speaking it into existence now. Like my CEO, she wants to have 100 communities. She's speaking that now. And I've been with it long enough that it's going to happen. I mean, when I first started, we had 7 buildings, and now we're at 70.
You're getting there.
Yeah. So if she speaks it, looking at it from a future standpoint, but in reality,
You're building up to it.
Yeah. And that time that's just part of it.
Think how that takes away the negativities, though, that creep in if you can't do that.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world.
You mean not being like the
Setbacks?
yes.
Yeah, you're not concerned with that anymore.
No, because it's just
It's
part of the process.
It's part of the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is such a glorious thought.
Now, with that knowledge, go back and read my text the other day to.
Yeah.
It's in the now.
It's in the now.
It's in the now. It's just a.
Yeah, no, and where I was a completely different place, which is what makes the next level now so awesome, to have all these people here and to be doing just what we're doing right now, a mastermind, where we grow as individuals, but we grow as a group. You're going to walk out of this today looking at life differently than when you walked through this door just a few scant hours ago. You're going to look at things totally differently, at least I am. And it's going to be awesome. We're going to be better because of it. So this is pretty doggone cool.
So just to kind of shed some light on what Kirk and I were just talking about, we were talking in code per se, but I had sent a text message to the gentleman that is wonderful that does our website. And, feeling a little bit of the pressure of, being an entrepreneur. One day you're eating steak and lobster, the next one you're eating beans and rice. I mean, you're trying to put things together. But that's part of it. And so feeling the pinch, I'd sent a message to Ty and I said, hey, we thinking that the organization is much bigger than it is. I said, when we go back and they say, wow, you guys are doing so great. Who was the guy that launched your website? He's that guy. But to someone who's thinking logically, it sounded totally.
It was hard to wrap the mind around. I know Ty struggled with it. And when I first read it, I was like,
what the heck is she talking about?
what?
Yeah.
And I had a different outlook on it too, because Ty doesn't know you.
All the details.
Yes. He doesn't know you.
Yeah.
So Ty has one vantage point. I'm sitting over here with another one, and here's Tamika out here looking at it from a different standpoint. And the three of us were like, we were nowhere close to converging on where we needed to converge. But again, because people are what they are, and because people are adults, people are working their own way through their own issues, we were able to kind of work our way past that. And this is part of it also. As part of this group, there's going to be moments where we may not agree on how to do a certain thing.
Sure.
But part of being where we are and doing what we're doing says, I can see past that. You can see past the fact that Kirk has diarrhea of the jaws and just loves to talk, and will talk and talk and talk forever, and you can forgive him for it and move on to something else, But we all have those things that go on in our lives, and we have them. I have them with my wife all the time. My wife is a control freak. I mean, just absolute control.
You're on camera.
So she'll never see it because she doesn't want anything to do with it. But she is a complete control freak, and she gets so upset with me when I'm not paying attention, she thinks, to what it is that she has going on in her life. Well, her life is revolving around taking care of a special needs person who lives with us. Her life is taking care of her children, who are adults and have no more business putting their hands into my pocket and removing money. Not your place to be. And so that's her world. And when I told her again today on my way over here, because I left the house, must have been around 6:30, 6:45, and she calls me and she says, where are you? And I said, I'm on my way to a meeting that I told you about. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. You never listened to me. I said, no. This is you never listening to me. Of course, she was all kinds of upset. It took her a few miles before she calmed down. But yeah, as you go through these things, and people aren't on that same wavelength for you, and I do believe that's where our skill as Toastmasters comes in. We are able to communicate. We are able to use articulation and use our vocabulary, and we use the word of the day in a Toastmaster meeting, and we try to incorporate that into what we're talking about. Because as we can expand that vocabulary, as we are able to better take that picture that's up in here and put it over there into your head, the much better the system works.
Well, and the much easier it is on you. Like the stress of whatever it is you're working on, when you can work through something and logically get through that and get past it. The Toastmasters, I think, has helped tremendously because, like, even in my job, you go, what are they doing? What is it? And, you know, after every process or every project, we always go back and we look at it. Okay, how could we have done that better?
Love that.
I in my brain, I see the pivot, you know, friends when they're pivoting the couch, pivot. That's how I approach things all the time is, okay, clearly this isn't working. Let's add to the process. Clearly it needs adjusted. Let's have a training. Clearly this, you know, constantly looking at, you know, how could that be done better?
I love that.
All the time.
We,
Except for dinner. I mean,
it's interesting, and I'm thinking from perspective of somebody watching this as time goes by. When we talk about being Toastmasters and learning to communicate, I think it's important to state that we all acknowledge, I have no doubt saying we all acknowledge that communication is not a state where you reach perfection. And I think, so saying that, I think the real value is in the idea that we have all learned that learning is not something in which we only step into a class or step into a course.
every day.
Learning means that every day we sit down, we examine our day, we look at what has happened, we look for the lessons learned. We look at how can we improve it next time. Not because we necessarily did something wrong, but we know that just by looking, examining, and analyzing, we can learn to be better at communication, at all of the things that we do. Just at life.
That's my department's mantra is how could we have done it better? Every time. It's not that we did it wrong, you know, but maybe the task took you 20 minutes longer and it took us 2 seconds. How could we make that easier for you? How can we make that task, you know, that is constantly looking at the way to improve a process or a procedure or an outcome. You know, especially if it was a negative outcome, okay, well, clearly we did something wrong or whatever was wrong there. What can we do to fix that?
Right.
Training or, you know, identifying the issue every single time so that, you know, you're saving time, you're saving money, so you're not repeating the same error over and over and over again.
Anguish.
Yes.
Saving heartache.
Yeah.
Almost makes you feel sorry for the people who aren't doing this. You know, to think how a terrible life that would be. To not, you know, and as you said, looking at what you did wrong, but also celebrating what you did right. Again, dopamine. Love dopamine, man. We got to have that stuff hitting that pleasure center of the brain, getting us excited, because that's what brings you back for another round tomorrow. Oh, no. You're going to take me now because I'm struggling. But then you think about that thing that went right and you get that little dopamine rush and you say, okay, yep, I'm ready to get up in the morning. I'm ready to have 2 glasses of water, a coffee, another 2 glasses of water, and do a gratitude journal. I'm ready. Let's do it. Guys, this is amazing, but we are pushing on almost 50 minutes.
Wow.
of this, and it
Time
seems
flies
like
when you're having fun.
it does fly when we're having fun.
Can I just finalize?
Sure.
Does anyone else have anything that they'd like to share before we wrap up? Because I'm going to have each of us say kind of a mantra for your life.
Ooh.
What would you say is something that you live by that has either helped you or that you're starting to say something in your mind?
That's like asking me to choose one of my rules.
Which of the 61 rules would you choose?
The 60-second rule will just hit right now. Be prepared.
Although it could be a prime opportunity to create 62.
Yeah.
But the first thing that comes to mind, and I think we're all seeing this, is that I don't think I would create it into a rule just yet. It probably needs some tweaking. But when you ask that question, the first thing that came to my mind is document. Document things. I think I have spent most of my life just rolling down the river of life in my boat, letting the current take me. And it hasn't been deliberate. And what I am finding is that once I started to document things, once I started to actually write down that first rule, and then the second one starts to come, and then you start noticing others, it leads to this life of documenting things. And then I started looking, as I was exposed to professional speaking, I realized that your life is your material. Your life and your experiences and your lessons are the materials that you end up sharing with others that can benefit. I can't speak of being a parent if I can't speak of my experiences of being a parent. So we rely a lot on just having our memories in our head, but when you write them down, when you document them, when you record them somewhere, you end up with such a better grasp of what actually happened, a better grasp of how it applies or how it was applied, and even better yet, a better grasp of how you can use it to help others.
Love that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Wrap this up. Because I have a takeaway, actually, because that has been on my mind documentation is a word that comes out of an HR mouth all the time.
All the time.
It's one of the 3 Ds to human resources: document, document, document. If it didn't document it, it didn't happen. But I do love that you've got this documentation thing in the morning, in your gratitude journal, and that's something that my takeaway is something I do want to do. There is a story out there. Everybody has one, and it can be therapeutic to get it out there, just to get it out and keep it out, not keeping it in here. But a takeaway, you have to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. I think we see that more and more in this world now.
Yep.
And if we approach everybody based on our own personal beliefs or personal preferences, we develop an unnecessary bias towards those other people. And in reality, you only know this much of them.
Yep.
Based on what you've seen, what you've heard, what they wear, what action they took in that particular moment. And I don't agree with a lot of the things that are happening in the world today, but I'm one person. I can't change the world. I can only change what I have control of right here. So I want to meet people where they're at, regardless of where they are in their beliefs, where they are on the political spectrum, where they are on the religious perspective. Religion's awesome because I look at it from a historical perspective. I think religion and history are the coolest. It's really just neat to think about and stuff. But there's only so much you can expect out of people. And so when they've hit that wall or they're ready to hop off that train, okay, it's good. It's all good. Like, we've recently had somebody that, left our company, and I'm not mad. Am I sad? Sure. I'm sad because I hold on to memories. I'm one of those people. So I establish memories with everybody that I interact with. So there's a sadness to it, but at the same time, you have to do what you have to do for you and find your happiness. And nothing should dictate that happiness but you. A job shouldn't dictate your happiness. I mean, it'd be nice if your spouse would help with dictating happiness, but in reality, you are the only person that is responsible for your happiness. So I think it's important to not judge people where they're at. I mean, as much as I want to sometimes, but in reality, they're going through something that you have no idea. And plain and simple.
Let them do it.
And let them.
And I'm looking at, after hearing both of yours, I think mine is probably the same thing, but maybe said a little different. We are where we are because that's what we've chosen to do. Mm-hmm. You are where you are because you chose to be here. And you may think, well, I didn't choose to have this auto accident, but you did choose to go to the market at the time the accident occurred. Mm-hmm. You are ultimately responsible, and the only thing you're responsible for, truly, is you and how you react. I'm responsible. I have a hand in the loss of my son. I have a hand in scarring those children as we went through a ugly, horrible divorce and the things that were said. And I think we all have to come to grips with that we are where we are because we chose to be there. But we also have to learn from those experiences. Okay, that wasn't so good. Maybe we should try something a little different. Or, hey, that worked out pretty good. I think I'll keep that one in the old hip pocket and drag it out and do it again. So for me, that's how I look at life, I guess. How about yours?
This is a lot of great information. I'm going to stick with what I was thinking about when I was getting ready this morning. And it was really just, I'm torn between two different thoughts here.
Song hit my head. Go ahead.
Was it torn?
Torn between two lovers? Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I was thinking Torn by Natalie Imbruglia.
Generational thing.
Yes, it was.
Okay, I'm going to go two different directions here. The first is, and this is kind of taken from what we've talked about today, is everyone needs something to look forward to in life. We need things to get us from where we are. Like I looked forward to this meeting, and now this meeting is coming to a close, and it's like, okay, now what am I going to look forward to? And so having things that you can look forward to is huge for any human being. And for people that are going to be watching our courses on the next level now and consuming that content, I hope that you look forward to the next course, the next course, and the next course, and the next course, because ultimately I want you to take your attention off of something else that you might be doing that's not helping you grow and develop, and put that energy towards the next level now, where you can heal yourself from wounds from childhood or whatever, as well as grow personally and professionally and so forth.
You're going to have to excuse me, keep talking.
Sure.
Half a dozen coffees.
Yes. And the second part of that is that Kirk and I teamed up. We've been at this now for 7 months, since last October. And it's interesting, the growth that has happened on my end, because Kirk is 70, I'm 44. And he's had, essentially 30 years on me almost, but I've had to expand myself and go through growth experiences that have been very, very painful. And what I've realized in that, and I'm talking about the classic story of somebody, some CEO or whatever, you know, you go through the foreclosure, or you go through the process of like losing your power, utilities get shut off, things like that. But what that does for you is it expands your capabilities. And when I'm saying capabilities, what I mean by that is, if he can handle more in his cup than I can, because I haven't experienced certain things, then it doesn't make the partnership equal, in a sense. So it's been a painful growth experience, but I believe that this is what it takes to get to the next level now. So living it has been painful since just in like the last 7 months, but I wouldn't have it any other way, because I truly believe in this. And